Hey, that's not a Daihatsu Sirion. That's correct, it's not. I've recorded this video at the end of that video I've just done. It took a long time. This is quite a long dyno video, and the reason is because I do a dyno run and then find that I can improve the figure slightly and keep doing experiments and things. So if you like all that sort of thing, you're going to love watching the whole thing. If you just want to know the actual numbers and the results, it's all in the chapters along the bottom. I have to put this in here because if it's a long video, a lot of people go, oh, I don't want to watch that. So yeah, it's all the video goes all the way through, explain what's happening, explain why the numbers are slightly different, try and do different things to alter the numbers, and ultimately see if I can beat Bella. I mean, ultimately see if I can beat the book figures. Hello and welcome to another dyno video. This time, one of our own cars, a dirty Daihatsu, which is a bit like Dirty Diana, but rustier. Yeah, this is, well, it's a car formerly known as Skit, but it's not really called that anymore. We just kind of call it the Sirion because we don't really name cars. And it is a Sirion. Sometimes I call it piece of Skit, but it depends on the mood. So today is its official induction into the Rolling Road Dyno Wall of Fame. See what I did there? But this is the last in this kind of layout. Well, actually, this is the end of two dynasties, if you like. The first is that the first video I did on this, was it the first dyno video? One of the first dyno videos I filmed on this phone, and this phone that you are watching on now is being retired. And I'm sad because it's been great. Yes, this phone is being retired, and the next dyno video you see, which, spoiler alert, is mental. Like, it's the most excited. It's the most one. Can't talk properly. I'm so excited. I'm the most excited to do it. Of all the cars that are going to go on that board, it's probably one of the ones that I'm really, really keen to see where it ends up. I think it's going to be here, but yeah, that one's going to be good. So keep an eye out for that, and that will be on the new phone. Ooh. It's also the last run for this dyno board. It might be this board that stays, but basically I need magnetic places. So yeah, I'm going to have to make aluminium magnetic somehow, but we'll get around that. There will also be two forms of dyno Hall of Fame boards, whatever, Wall of Fame. If you are a YouTuber or a channel member, or someone like you've got an Instagram page or something like that, I will probably put you on here. It's down to my discretion. It's my ball, and I'll take it home if I want to. Because I do a lot of cars on here, part of me wants to sort of share everything I've done. So we've got the Wall of Fame, which at the moment, Auto Shenanigans is winning, but I don't think that's going to be for long. And there will also be a more in-depth version of this on my website, which is ihaveansm.com, because I do. That will have the in-depth table, if you like, of all the cars, not just the cars that have appeared on here. I'm going to put in all sorts of cars on there, really to mix it up, to really, you know, show people what kind of results this thing's made over time. I haven't exactly figured out how it's going to happen on the website yet. I suspect it'll probably be... Well, it'll probably be a page on the website. But yeah, I'll announce that when it happens. So that's to come later on. For now, we're going to focus on this thing. Now, those who've watched this channel before may remember that this car has actually been on the dyno before. It's just it wasn't on here. There's a reason for that. It was put on the dyno initially when we bought it because it was kind of smoky. And I wanted to know if it was in good health. Because I couldn't be asked to do a compression test on it. I thought, let's just thrap the arse off it on the dyno, and if it's down on power, I know I've got problems that are kind of serious. But if it's on point where it's meant to be, which is 69 horsepower, if it has there or thereabouts, then we know we're good. And as it turned out, at the time, in rather hot weather, it actually made like more. It made like 73 or something like that. Done about 103,000 miles. It is very loose. But yeah, it made more than it was meant to. Which, to be fair, this is the first car with this engine that I've put on here. And I don't know much about these engines at all. For those who don't know, this is a Daihatsu Sirion. It's a 2000 and something. 8. It's a 2008 Daihatsu Sirion. But underneath, it's kind of like, it's like a Yaris from Wish. It's pretty much what it is. It's got a lot of old Yaris tech underneath it. The engine in the front of it is the same as the citibug. It's a Toyota Aygo, Citroen C1, Peugeot 107, which if I was a decent YouTuber, I would have found one of those to put on the dyno because more people will watch it, because more people will search for those cars, because they were popular. This wasn't popular, or not in the UK. They did sell it around the world. It was badged as a number of different things. Subaru Justy, Perodua, and the Toyota, no, I think it was called Toyota Pazzo, I think. But in this country, it was sold also as Daihatsu Sirion, and that is what we have today. So it's a car we bought some time ago for about 500 quid, but knowing that it needed an MOT. It had like a week MOT left on it or something like that. And when we got the car home, on the way home rather, we discovered that we hadn't been quite as thorough on the inspection when we bought the car as we should have been, because we found that if you gunned the engine on the spot, it blew smoke everywhere. And it was blue smoke, so it was burning oil. Now this is annoying because we've watched videos. There was another channel called Hubnut. Oh, down there. That's him there. We've watched another channel called Hubnut, and they have a Daihatsu, and it smokes, and it's like burning oil for fun, and it seems to be the way. But this was the Toyota engine, and I'd done a bit of research, and from what I'd read, these engines are unbreakable, unburstable, 1KR-FE, I think it's called. Brilliant engines, and you watch them doing 24-hour motor racing, you know, endurance racing. So yeah, they can take a pounding, but I did then, after we bought this car, find extra information that suggested that, oh yeah, no, the piston rings do go. Yeah, they wear the bores out and stuff, but you know, it'll run all day. It smoke. Well, I mean, the next car that's going to come on here, whew, that'll be even worse for blue smoke. It is what it is, right? I watched a video on a channel called Stupid Bloke Stupid Videos. Hello to Mr. Stupid, I don't know his name. He's got a C1, which he calls the shitter, which I think secretly he loves, and he had similar issues, and he put in some potions, and he managed to cure his issues with the potions. Now, I don't know if that happened, because when I did the dyno test before, I hadn't put the potions in. In fact, I hadn't actually done anything on the car at all. It's literally as we bought it, straight on. Now, enough time has passed. It's done about 1,400 miles or something in our ownership. Nothing like as much as I thought it was going to. So it's done some mileage. It had new oil put in it. It's, you know, it's had God knows how many detergent. It had 24 hours of like seafoam soaking on the pistons. So now it's had some use as well. It wasn't getting a lot of use in its last life, so there's a chance it might have helped. It's unlikely to have helped, isn't it? But yeah, but otherwise, today is just a case of sticking it on the dyno and officially inducting it into the Hall of Fame and seeing whether any of those potions made a difference over a longer period of time. Because obviously it has been running with seafoam in the oil. It's had it through the petrol a few times. Yeah, and every time I drive it, I try and drive it with gusto, but it's not that fun to drive, so I don't drive it very often. But for now, we're going to run it up and see where it fits on the updated board. I said I wasn't going to update the board. I have updated it. I have added in status slow, the Fiesta. In second place there, the Zetec S Mark 7, unless you're in another country, in which case it's a Mark 6. Two cars we run on this channel are run for economy reasons, and one of them is this car, which is not actually as economical as you'd think it would be, but it is very cheap to tax, £35 a year, and Dumpit. Dumpit, you should know if you don't, check out Dumpit. Dumpit is a Peugeot 106 1.1, supposed to have 60 horsepower, ended up with 70 horsepower with the Dumpit pipe removed. We'll get onto that one another time. Oh, this has got a Dumpit pipe. I wonder if, have a look at that. Now, Dumpit is here. This in stock form should be here, but based on what it did last time, it would actually be here. We have a Citroen BX 14 here, 1.4 Citroen BX on 75. There is a chance, and I would be mightily impressed if the fact that it's had a few more miles with the potions in it, and it's had a new air filter, it would be hilarious if it could beat the 75 and creep up above Audrey, which is not a DS. I know that some people have said with the C1s, a simple remap and something else, and you get them knocking on the door of 85 horsepower. It would be hilarious if it could be a Citroen Berlingo that was poorly, wouldn't it? 77. I think it hit 74. I think this did 74 in the other Skit video, the one with all the smoke on the thumbnail. I think it hit 74. Oh, there's a chance. Would that not be hilarious? Right, let's do it. It stopped smoking! It's not smoking anymore! It is smoking a smidge, but it's mainly sooty. And the other day the revs started fluctuating. So I think the coolant sensor might be on the way out. So it's possibly a little rich, but there's no clouds of blue smoke out the back anymore. It's better. We can compare it with the last graph. I've got them, I'll overlay them from before, but the smoke stopped. There's no smoke coming out of that when I'm gunning it. And as I say, I was giving it loads of revs in that before I did the run, and it was a bit sooty out the back, sure, but I'm not going to front it, my wife drives it. I don't think she canes it very hard. And it might be that it's just a bit of coke in there, but it's had so many cleaning products go through it. I'm gonna have to, the new graph, the new list I should say, will include decimals. I'll explain that when it gets released, but 75.4, I always take the highest number. If it can squeeze, oh, so £79 foot at 3,288, 75.4 at 5,972. Let's try again. Done exactly the same thing again. That's the comment from the last one I did, don't worry about that. 75 again. Let me save this quickly and overlay them. Okay, so that's kind of freakishly similar. So the black line is the first run and the red line is the second run. This is going to be quite a long dyno video, isn't it? 5972 75.4, 5927, so the 2 and the 7 swap round, 75.4. Everything else is consistent, peak torque, roughly the same, but yeah, 79 at 3.2. I mean, to be fair, you need to do it really, on a rolling road dyno, you'd need to do like 5 runs at identical temperatures and take an average. Ain't nobody got time for that! 75 looks like it's where we're at. But the thing is, I know I'm going to have to figure out, does it beat this? And does it beat this? It might. I'm going to have to start looking at the decimals, aren't I? I suppose we can, well, actually, yes, it does beat them. Because of goal difference. So strictly speaking, that should be ahead of that anyway. And I've put it below it for some reason, but I'm an idiot. But, oh, look. Oh. Right, what I've got on overlaid here are two graphs from when this is the first run. With the black one here is the first run we've just done, the one you watched at the beginning of the video, and the blue one is the best run that was done before the repairs took place. So this is when we got the car that I referred to at the beginning, and that's quite a difference. The power losses are the same, nothing's changed there. And you know, the ironic thing is I pumped the tyres up just now because they were flat when I got here, and they were flat when we got it, so that's pretty interesting. The temperature in the workshop is very different, and the air pressure has changed because of that, but because we're running through this, not just that plus that, I mean, that's your wheel. The wheel figure is a bigger difference because it's 12 degrees today, whereas back then it was 26. So the wheel figure and the engine power measured, the measured numbers, you've got to put them to one side, apart from the power losses. The corrected figure, the one that takes into account the temperature and everything, is just this one here. And that's the one you can compare. You can't compare the others because it's a different time of year. But that's quite a jump. So could it be then that perhaps the piston rings were sticky and it was even losing a little bit of compression because of that? That it's freed up? Who knows? But if this is down to that potion, that Amtech stuff I put in, that is impressive. Now, I don't know if it is or not, but it could be. What about the wheels? The wheel figure, 185, 175. So it should fit. The thing is, Mrs. is complaining this thing gets away like a dry slug when she drives it. But can I help at all? Yeah, she's complaining it gets away like a dry slug when she drives it, but it suggests it's actually quicker than it was, which is awkward. So the question is, does it have a Dumpit pipe? I cannot remember. No. Well, that was a bit smoky, but I think most of it was coming out the crankcase breather, which would be here. I just wanted to know if it made a difference. No air filter. Ready? It did make a difference. Skit equaled Bella. I'm so happy. In fact, it's beaten Bella. No air filter. Just drive it with no air filter, and it's beaten Bella. Where's Bella? There. Do you know why it's beaten Bella? Are you going to go, oh, it's got 77, same as Bella. It's equaled Bella. No, it hasn't. Minus 13 plus 8. I'm doing a dance. There is a part of me that thinks that's cheating because you wouldn't drive it with no air filter. But then that 70 that I did with Dumpit, that had no Dumpit pipe. You could drive it with no Dumpit pipe. You could drive this with no air filter, but I don't know. I got to be honest. I think this. Yeah, I don't know. Ooh, what do you think? What do you think? Part of me thinks it should be the conditions that the car can be driven on the road in. And if you drive this on the road like this, something's going to fall into that throttle body. I mean, that throttle body will get wet when it rains, probably. And this oil breather here will spray the underside of the bonnet with oil. Hang on. Yes. Yes. And that's ketchup. I forgot about these. Spark plugs. Never fitted them. It's got the old manky spark plugs in it. Hang on, they've only given me 3. Oh, for Christ's sake, I've only got oh yeah, duh. I knew that. It was a joke. So I'm thinking, let's see what new plugs do. Ah! Well, it works. So, test conditions, I'm going to do one more run with the bonnet up with no air filter on it, so there's a back-to-back run of how it was before the plugs went in. But then I am going to put the air filter back on because, well, I'm not going to drive it with no air filter, that would be silly. So, let's do a run like this, and hope nothing gets sucked in. With the new plugs, in real time, and see what happens. Ooh, it did improve. It did improve. Let me save that. Right, so on the screen now we've got the red one is the old plugs and the new one is the new plugs. I mean, to be honest with you, I actually think that's a legit increase because it follows the exact same pattern. If one of those, if the black one, say it had done more power, but it kind of had a lump in it and came back down again, then you would write that off. But it has just improved it. It's no different down here. And then when it gets near the top, for some reason, well, I mean, new plug, I can't even think how a new plug would. That's just be how quick the spark can, or how precisely the spark can jump. To ignite the fuel mixture. So we're talking small margins, we're talking 0.8 horsepower according to that, but again you'd have to do like a number of these and take an average to actually get meaningful data, and nobody has time for that. The torque is roughly the same because it hasn't affected it low down, it's all at the top. So yeah, now the problem I've got is ain't nobody gonna drive the car like that. So, actually, do you know what? From a C1 owner point of view, I'm actually thinking, should I do a run with the airbox on, but with no air filter, to see if it's the filter or the filter box that's making the difference to this? I mean, this is the difference the airbox made. Look, this is conclusive. It strangled it here, and it's strangling it there. So it's roughly the same here, but when you want the air to flow, that airbox is restrictive. 75, 70, and that's with new plugs, so let's go with that one. So it's 2 horsepower. Roughly the same kind of revs. What about torque? 1 pound-foot, which at the wheel probably might be 1.5, 2. More than that, 3. So it's noticeable. So yeah, there you go. Well, what's my... If you've got a citibug or a Daihatsu with that engine, take the air filter out. I mean, yeah, you want to go faster. I wouldn't do it actually because you don't want to drive down a road like that. But I'm bothered. Yeah, I'm gonna. Shall I take the air filter out and see if it's the filter that's restricting it? Let's do that. Right, I've decided to bring you aboard. Going into 4th already, foot down. I think that air filter is going to stay there. Interesting. 77 on the nose. Torque, oddly, has increased, but well, the number hasn't. But the hang on, shouting there. the number hasn't, but the revs at which it was produced has. However, oh, I don't know, I mean, it might, yeah, it probably is. Let's overlay it. Right, so this is, the red is no air box, and the black is no air filter. They've obviously got new plugs. I think the only reason the peak torque has shifted is because it had this big lump at the bottom here, which has gone without the with the airbox back in. So it undoubtedly would be quicker with no air filter on it. The air filter is restricting this engine, well, the airbox I should say. If I put the filter back in now and it reads the same as it is here, then it's just that the car is enjoying getting hotter, and I'm not convinced it will. Although it did have a massive dip in it there, look, with the airbox back in. What about with the airbox in with the old filter? Right, so the green, right, so the dip I think is just a bum note. I think something's just gone a bit belly up. So the green is airbox with a filter in it, the black is airbox with no filter in it, and the red is no airbox at all. So if I put a filter back in this and we end up nearer the green, it's conclusive that the filter element is the restrictive element in here. So yeah, that's, I don't care, I just want it to be Bella. Air filter back in. Bonnet, oh, I wonder if it's the bonnet open or shut. Screw it, let's leave the bonnet open. There's always going to people in the comments going, oh, it's because the bonnet's open, there's more cold air. I think it's going to be 76. That's my gut. Oh, look at that, I'm so good. Right, so now we've got some data. Here we go. So the colours all changed just to confuse things. So the first run on there, the blue run, is the first run today. In fact, hang on. Right, there we go. The purple run is when we first got the car. So before the potions. Now, I'm sorry, but we're looking at some data here because it has woken it up. I have to do this on wheel speed because the RPM, if I put it on that, it'll all be all over the place. And the reason for that is that I'm manually entering in the revs, which is why I'm not paying too much attention to where these are in relation to the book figures. But in terms of power output at the wheels converted and corrected, this graph here is de facto. And what's interesting there, I mean, look, it's really improved it. So you've got standard car when we first got it, basically, smoking its tits off. Then you've got the blue is the first runs with the potions. So, and that's the first run we did today, basically. I think, is it first run? Yeah, first run today. Then the black is the next one up, and that is new plugs fitted. So that's the one we just did. So that is the difference it's made with the new plugs alone, which is 1 horsepower basically. And it's comparable with this one up here because green is new plugs with an empty airbox to the filter removed. So if you compare the black, nearly a horsepower again. Not black, blue, is it? It's green. And then red is the no, that should say airbox. No airbox at all. So the filter was removed on the green and on the red there, and it's given, they dip with the filter in, and with the filter out, there's strength there. This lump down here, I think that's coincidental. I think there's something somewhere, there's a component somewhere that isn't quite right, because it does it sometimes and other times it doesn't, and it's had an air filter in it, then it didn't have an air filter in it, and these are repeatable. These kind of fit in with what we're seeing basically with the numbers. That doesn't, because like the green one and the red one are kind of pairs and they're different down there, and then the black one and the yeah, the black and the green do the same thing, even though they do a different thing up here. I'm sure it makes sense if you think about it as hard as I am. So, well, the question remains, what number do we... I mean, this has turned into quite the dyno video. I'm not going to go into this level of detail on all of them. The things I do to beat Bella. Now, really, the correct number there is the black one, which is 76. And it is, I'm afraid, it is the correct number. That is the number we've got to take, because this one, that's the improvement it's made, which is massive. Let's just show you that. Look at that. Excusing the little fart down there. That is some improvement. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's 40 and that's 50 horsepower. And torque, sorry. That's 65, 80. Yeah, so it's not a big graph. Only goes up to 90. But that is quite an improvement. I'm really happy with that. I think Skit should be proud. Not a piece of Skit anymore, is it? So, yeah. Oh dear, what do I do? It would be unfair. No, right. So that's going to be the rule. Dumpit, had a Dumpit pipe removed. It can be driven on the road like that. I would happily drive that car on the road like that. I would not happily drive this car on the road with no air filter in it. Therefore, it doesn't quite beat Bella, although we did see it beat Bella comfortably. But it has beaten Audrey in a BX, which it should not. So, we'll go with that. It's going 76. Hey, that's pretty impressive, isn't it? That's not bad. It might not be the nicest thing in the world to drive, or look at, or behold, or be seen in, or whatever, but fair play. That's pretty good. Well, that's all the Daihatsu dyno fun done with. Although if you're enjoying the geeking out, stay tuned, hang on, because I'm going to quickly have a look at something comparing this car to Dumpit. It didn't beat Bella, but it did pretty well. Right, and time to nerd out. So, fair play to you if you've stayed on, by the way. So basically, the black there is Skit, and the purple is Dumpit. Now, Dumpit is a 1.1 litre Peugeot 106, as we know. As I keep saying, it is there. And it did 70 horsepower without its air intake pipe fitted, but it did still have its air filter and air box. And it did 70. So that is very impressive. It's only supposed to have 60. It's actually, pound for pound, it's a better improvement than there is on this. But this car, this Daihatsu, has produced more power. Now, the thing that we couldn't quite figure out, now, the thing you might be wondering is why, in the name of all that's holy, does Dumpit feel so much faster to drive than this, when Dumpit is basically nearly the same weight? There's not a lot in it, and this car has more power. And does it have more torque? Let's have a look at the torque. 80 pound-foot at 3,500 versus 78 pound-foot at 4,100. So why the hell does Dumpit go off like a scolded cock, and this thing does not? Well, I can very easily show you why that is. Now, these runs are done in fourth gear only, because it's the closest 1-to-1 ratio. That is, it's the closest one where you get one turn in, one turn out, effectively. It's not quite as simple as that. But the diff gears it down, and the gearbox is still gearing it down slightly. And if you click the wheel output, that's when you see a difference, because Dumpit, all of a sudden, if you look at the torque curve there, which is the dotted line, that's the torque at the flywheel. But the wheels, Dumpit has a lot more. 182 pound-foot at the wheels on Skit. 198 on Dumpit. At about 500 RPM more, 600 RPM more. Why is that, you might ask? Well, the reason that happens, you'll have to excuse the fact that they've changed colour because the computer crashed. It's a very old computer. I need to get a new computer in there, basically. These are both fourth gear. They've changed colour as well because the computer crashed. But yeah, they're both fourth gear. It's just how much taller the gearing is in the Sirion. Going, what, nearly about 104, 103, 104 in fifth gear. Dumpit, well, clips out at about 88, 89 in fourth gear. All it is, shorter gearing, multiplies torque at the wheels. It doesn't make a huge difference to the power figure up here, because this takes into account those losses and gains and things like that. So I have tried doing different runs at different gears, and this does tend to stay about the same, but that's why Dumpit feels faster, basically. Same kind of weight, but has, well, it effectively has, because of that shorter gearing, sort of 11, 12, 13, 14 pound-foot more at the wheels on average. That's it. That's literally what it is. It's the gearing. So yeah, bye.